One fake date. One dangerous man. One night that would destroy everything she thought she knew about herself. Lena Brooks never believed in fairy tales, especially not the kind where the prince was a crime boss and the castle smelled like gunpowder and old money. But when Adrian Varela walked into her diner at 2 a.m. with blood on his cufflinks and an offer that could change her life, she said yes before her brain could catch up to her mouth. If you want to see how one lie can burn down 2 lives, stick around till the end. Drop a like and comment your city so I can see how far this story travels. The fluorescent lights of Rosie's diner buzzed like dying wasps at 2 in the morning. Lena Brooks wiped down the counter for the 3rd time in 10 minutes, her lower back screaming from an 8-hour shift that had somehow stretched into 12. The coffee pot gurgled its last breath. Outside, December rain hammered the windows hard enough to rattle the glass. She was alone. Mickey, the night cook, had clocked out an hour ago, leaving her to close up. The tip jar held $18 and some change. Rent was due in 4 days. The bell above the door chimed. Lena looked up, already forming her apology. "We're closed, sorry." But the words died somewhere between her brain and her throat. 3 men walked in. No, walked was the wrong word. They entered like they owned not just the diner, but the entire block, maybe the whole damn city. The first 2 were big, the kind of big that came from genetics and protein shakes and probably some light felony work. They wore dark coats that didn't quite hide the bulges at their hips. But it was the 3rd man who made Lena's pulse stutter. He was tall, maybe 6'2", with dark hair pushed back from a face that looked like it had been carved from marble by someone who believed beauty should hurt a little. Sharp jawline. Darker eyes. Expensive suit that probably cost more than her car. He moved with the kind of confidence that came from never having to ask for anything twice. There was blood on his right cuff. Not a lot. Just enough to notice if you were looking. Lena was looking. She started. "Closed. I know." His voice was low, smooth, with just a hint of an accent she couldn't quite place. Spanish, maybe, or Italian. "This won't take long." The 2 big men fanned out, one heading toward the windows, the other positioning himself by the door, like they'd done this before, like they had a system. Lena's hand moved slowly toward the phone under the counter. "I wouldn't." The man in the expensive suit didn't even glance at her hand. He just sat down at the counter, right in front of her, and those dark eyes locked onto hers. "I'm not here to hurt you." That's exactly what someone who's here to hurt me would say. His mouth twitched, almost a smile. "Fair point. Coffee?" "Are you serious right now?" "Very. Black? No sugar." Lena stared at him. This was insane. This whole situation was insane. But something in his eyes, something tired and human underneath all that danger, made her reach for a clean cup. She poured. Her hands only shook a little. He took a sip, watching her over the rim. "Good coffee." "It's diner coffee. It's terrible." "I've had worse." He set the cup down carefully. "What's your name?" "That's none of your business." "Lena." His eyes flicked to her name tag. "Lena Brooks. You work Tuesday through Saturday, 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. You drive a 2008 Honda Civic with a broken taillight. You live alone in a studio apartment on 5th and Garrett. Your landlord's been calling about rent." The blood drained from Lena's face. "How do you—" "I make it my business to know things." He leaned back slightly, still watching her with that unsettling intensity. "Relax. I'm not stalking you. I had someone look into you this afternoon. Background check. Standard procedure." "Standard for what?" "A job offer." Lena laughed. It came out harsh and sharp. "I'm good. Thanks. I don't know what kind of work you're offering, but I'm guessing it's illegal." "Probably. Definitely not interested. You haven't heard what I'm paying yet." "Doesn't matter." $50,000. The world tilted slightly. Lena gripped the counter. "What?" $50,000. Cash. For one night's work. He reached inside his jacket, Lena tensed, and pulled out a business card. Plain, expensive paper. Just a phone number. He slid it across the counter. Nothing illegal, nothing dangerous, just acting. Acting. Lena's voice was flat. Playing a role. My girlfriend, specifically, for one night. A family gathering. Lena stared at him, then at the card, then back at him. "You're insane." "I'm serious, like." You're seriously insane. You can't just walk into a random diner and offer a stranger 50 grand to pretend to be your girlfriend. I just did. Why me? He tilted his head slightly, studying her like she was a painting he was considering buying. You're real, normal, you work hard. You're pretty, but not obviously so. You wouldn't stand out in my world, but you also wouldn't disappear. You're exactly what I need. That's the creepiest compliment I've ever received. It wasn't meant to be a compliment, it was an assessment. Lena's brain was racing, trying to catch up. Who are you? Does it matter? If I'm going to be your fake girlfriend, yeah, it kind of matters. Adrian Varela. He said it simply, like he was stating a fact about the weather. The name meant nothing to Lena. She'd lived in the city for 3 years, kept her head down, worked her shifts, paid her bills. She didn't follow the news much, didn't have time for gossip. But the way his men reacted to her blank expression, the subtle shift in their posture, the glances they exchanged, told her she should probably recognize that name. Should I know you? She asked. Adrian's smile was slow and didn't reach his eyes. Most people do. That's refreshing. What do you do? Import and export, family business. That's vague. It's intentional. Lena crossed her arms. Let me guess. The imports and exports are illegal. Drugs, maybe. Or guns? And your family isn't a family so much as a... Careful. The word was soft but sharp. The 2 men by the windows and door both shifted. Adrian held up a hand without looking at them, and they froze. His eyes never left Lena's. You're smart. That's good. But being too smart can be dangerous. Is that a threat? It's advice. They stared at each other. The rain kept hammering the windows. The coffee pot kept gurgling. Lena should say no. Should tell him to get out. Should call the cops the second he left. Should probably quit her job and move to a different city just to be safe. But $50,000. $50,000 would cover rent, would pay off her car, would give her a cushion, a buffer, a chance to actually breathe for the first time since moving to this city. What's the catch? She asked quietly. No catch. You show up. You play the role, you smile, you hold my hand. You laugh at my uncle's terrible jokes. At midnight, I take you home. You never hear from me again. Why do you need a fake girlfriend? Something flickered across his face. Too fast to read. Family expectations. It's complicated. Try me. Adrian was quiet for a long moment. Then, my family thinks I need to settle down. They've been pushing me toward certain arrangements. Strategic marriages, alliances. I'm trying to buy myself some time by showing up with someone they can't argue with. Someone who's clearly wrong for the role they have in mind. So I'm the decoy. You're the solution. And after one night, they'll just give up? For a while. Long enough. He picked up his coffee cup again, turning it slowly in his hands. Look, I don't expect you to understand my world. I don't need you to. I just need you to show up, follow my lead, and collect your money. That's it. Lena's heart was pounding. This was crazy. This man was dangerous. Everything about this screamed bad idea. I need to think about it, she said. You have 5 seconds. Excuse me? 5 seconds. After that, I walk out that door and find someone else. His eyes were steady on hers. 4, 3. That's not 2. Fine. Yes. Okay. I'll do it. The word hung in the air between them. Lena couldn't believe she'd just said it. Couldn't believe any of this was happening. Adrian smiled. It was the first real smile she'd seen from him, and it transformed his entire face. Made him look younger, less dangerous, almost human. Smart choice, he said. He stood, pulling out his wallet and laying down $500 bills on the counter. For the coffee and the trouble. This is way too much. Keep it. Consider it a down payment. He grabbed a napkin and a pen from the counter, scribbling something quickly. This is the address. Friday night, 7 p.m. Wear something nice but not too formal. Like you're meeting the family for the first time and you're trying to make a good impression without trying too hard. Lena took the napkin with numb fingers. How do I know you're not just going to murder me? If I wanted you dead, you'd already be dead. He said it matter-of-factly, without malice, just stating a truth. Besides, murder is bad for business. Too messy, too complicated. That's not as reassuring as you think it is. I'll send a car for you, 6:30. Don't be late." He started toward the door, his men falling into step beside him. Then he paused, looking back over his shoulder. "And Lena, don't tell anyone about this. Not your friends, not your family, nobody." "Why not?" "Because the kind of people in my world don't like loose ends. And if you become a loose end," he let the sentence trail off. "Just don't. It's safer that way." Then he was gone, disappearing into the rain with his silent guards, leaving Lena alone in the empty diner with $500 in cash and a napkin with an address in the kind of neighborhood where people like her didn't belong. She stood there for a long time, staring at the door, at the napkin, at the money. Then she locked up, drove home through the rain, and didn't sleep at all. Friday arrived faster than Lena wanted it to. She spent 2 days in a fog of second-guessing, threw the napkin away 3 times, fished it out of the trash 3 times, Googled Adrian Varela and found exactly nothing useful, just some generic business profiles that told her nothing real. Either his name was common or someone had scrubbed his online presence clean. She went to work, served coffee, smiled at customers, collected her tips, acted normal. But normal felt like a costume now, like she was already playing a role. Thursday night, she stood in front of her closet for an hour, trying to figure out what nice but not too formal meant. She owned exactly 2 dresses. One was too casual, sundress territory. The other was too formal, job interview territory. Neither was right. She ended up at a discount department store at 10 p.m., spending money she couldn't really afford on a dark green dress that hit just above the knee and made her look like she'd tried without trying too hard. At least she hoped that's what it looked like. She'd never been good at this stuff. Friday morning, she called in sick to work. Felt guilty about it. Mickey would be annoyed, but showing up to Rosie's after tonight felt impossible somehow. Like she'd be a different person by then. Maybe she would be. 6:30 came too fast and too slow at the same time. Lena was dressed, makeup on, standing by her apartment window watching the street when the car pulled up. Black, expensive. Windows tinted so dark she couldn't see inside. A man got out. Not one of the ones from the diner. This one was older, gray hair, wearing a driver's uniform that probably cost more than her entire outfit. He stood by the rear door waiting. This was it. Last chance to back out. Lena grabbed her purse, just her wallet, her keys, her phone, and headed downstairs. The driver opened the door for her without a word. She slid into leather seats that were softer than her bed. The door closed with a solid, expensive thunk. They drove. Out of her neighborhood, through the downtown area where the buildings got taller and cleaner, past the business district, into the kind of residential area where houses became mansions and driveways became private roads. Lena watched it all through the window, her stomach twisting tighter with every mile. The car turned through iron gates that swung open automatically. Up a long driveway lined with trees wrapped in tiny white lights. The mansion, appeared around a curve, and Lena's breath caught. It looked like something from a movie. 3 stories. Stone and glass and architectural confidence. Warm light spilling from dozens of windows. Cars parked in the circular drive, all expensive, all gleaming. The driver opened her door. Lena stepped out on shaky legs. The front door opened before she reached it. Adrian stood there in a different suit. This one, dark gray, probably worth more than her car. And for a second, Lena forgot how to move. He looked different here, in his element, more dangerous somehow, less human. "You came," he said. "You paid me $50,000. Of course I came. You look good. You look terrifying." His mouth twitched. "Come inside. We need to go over some things before you meet everyone." The interior was exactly what Lena expected, and nothing like she'd imagined. Marble floors, high ceilings, art that was probably worth more than she'd make in a lifetime. But it also felt lived in somehow. Warm. There were photographs on tables, a kid's drawing stuck to what was probably a very expensive refrigerator visible through a doorway, the sound of laughter and conversation drifting from deeper in the house. Adrian led her into a side room, a study or library lined with books and leather furniture, and closed the door. "Okay," he said, turning to face her. "Ground rules. I thought you said just smile and hold your hand." I simplified. He moved closer, and Lena fought the urge to step back. "My family is observant. They'll be watching you. judging you, looking for cracks. You need to sell this. I thought you said I was wrong for whatever role they had in mind. You are. But that doesn't mean they won't try to figure you out. Where you came from, what you want. If you're playing me. His eyes searched hers. So here's what they know. We met 3 months ago. You were working. I came in regularly. I asked you out. You said no twice before saying yes. Why would I say no? Because you're smart enough to be suspicious of men like me. That part's true, at least. We've been seeing each other quietly. Nothing serious, nothing public. Tonight's the first time I'm bringing you around family. That's a big deal in my world, so they'll all be paying attention. Lena's head was spinning. What else do I need to know? My mother's name is Elena. She'll probably love you because you're not the kind of woman she's been pushing me toward. My father's name is Carlos. He'll be suspicious but polite. I have 2 sisters, Maria and Sofia. Maria's married with 2 kids. Sophia's a pain in the ass but harmless. Various aunts, uncles, cousins. Just smile. Be yourself. If anyone asks you something you don't know how to answer, deflect to me. And if someone asks me something personal about you, make something up. It doesn't matter. Half the stuff they think they know about me is wrong anyway. Lena studied him. You don't like your family very much, do you? Something shifted in his expression. I love my family. I'd die for my family. That doesn't mean I want them running my life. There was history there. Pain. Lena could see it in the tight set of his shoulders, the way his jaw clenched slightly. Before she could respond, there was a knock on the door. Adrian? A woman's voice. Young, impatient. Stop hiding in there and bring her out. Everyone's dying to meet her. Adrian's hand found the small of Lena's back. The touch was warm through the thin fabric of her dress. Ready? No? Good. That makes 2 of us. He opened the door. Let's go. The house opened up into a large living area where at least 30 people were gathered. Conversations paused, eyes turned. Lena felt every single gaze land on her like a physical weight. A woman in her mid-50s broke away from a group near the fireplace. She was beautiful, dark hair with silver threads, dark eyes like Adrian's, elegant in a way that made Lena feel like a kid playing dress-up. Mama, Adrian said. This is Lena. Lena, my mother, Elena. Elena's smile was warm, but her eyes were sharp. She took Lena's hands in both of hers, studying her face. Lena, what a lovely name. Adrian has told me nothing about you, which means you must be special. I thank you. Come. Sit. Tell me everything. Elena linked her arm through Lena's, already pulling her away from Adrian toward a group of women by the windows. How did you meet my son? He's terrible at meeting women, always working. Lena glanced back at Adrian. He raised his eyebrows slightly. You're on your own, and turned to greet an older man who had to be his father. And just like that, Lena was swept into the deep end. The women were friendly but relentless. They asked about her job. She stuck to the truth. She was a waitress. And where she grew up, small town, nothing special. And how Adrian was in private, she improvised, said he was surprisingly funny, which earned laughs and knowing looks. A younger woman with Adrian's eyes and a baby on her hip appeared at Lena's elbow. I'm Maria. Don't let them overwhelm you. They're like sharks who smell blood when Adrian brings someone home. He doesn't bring women home often. He doesn't bring women home ever. You're the first in 5 years. Maria shifted the baby to her other hip. So either you're very special or my brother's up to something. Lena's smile felt frozen. Maybe both? Maria laughed. I like you. Come on, let's get you a drink before Sophia finds you. She's going to be insufferable. The next hour was a blur. Lena met what felt like 100 people whose names she immediately forgot. She drank wine she couldn't really taste. She laughed at jokes she barely heard. She felt Adrian's presence even when he was across the room, his eyes finding hers every few minutes, checking in, making sure she was okay. Dinner was called. They sat at a long table that looked like it belonged in a castle. Lena found herself between Adrian and an older man who introduced himself as Uncle Vincent. Adrian's hand settled on her thigh under the table, warm, possessive, steadying. She nearly jumped. He leaned close, his breath warm against her ear. Relax, you're doing fine. I feel like I'm on display. You are. They're all trying to figure out if you're good enough for me or if I've lost my mind. Which is it? His hand squeezed gently. Still deciding. Dinner was elaborate. Course after course of food Lena couldn't identify, but was too nervous to eat. Conversation swirled around her in English and Spanish, sometimes switching mid-sentence. She caught pieces. Business talk, family gossip, debates about sports and politics. Uncle Vincent asked her about her family. She kept it vague, small, distant, nothing interesting. He asked if she knew what Adrian did for a living. She said imports and exports, and the whole table went quiet for half a second before someone laughed and the conversation moved on. After dinner, people drifted into different rooms, some to the living area, some out to a covered patio despite the cold. Adrian kept Lena close, his hand either at her back or holding hers, always touching, always anchoring her. It should have felt fake. It should have felt like the act it was. It didn't. His thumb traced circles on her palm. His body angled toward hers even when he was talking to someone else. When someone said something that made her uncomfortable, a cousin making a joke that landed wrong, Adrian's grip tightened and the room temperature seemed to drop 5 degrees until the cousin apologized. "Bathroom?" Lena whispered when she couldn't take another minute of being watched. Adrian pointed down a hallway. "Third door on the left." She escaped gratefully, locking herself in a bathroom that was bigger than her entire apartment. She braced her hands on the marble counter and stared at herself in the mirror. What was she doing here? This wasn't her world. These weren't her people. She was a waitress playing dress-up in a game she didn't understand. But $50,000. She splashed cold water on her wrists, careful not to ruin her makeup, and headed back out. She took a wrong turn, ended up in a hallway lined with photographs, family pictures, Adrian at various ages, a serious child, a sullen teenager, a young man with harder eyes, his sisters, his parents, moments captured in silver frames. Lost? Lena spun around. A man stood at the end of the hallway, tall, maybe 40, well-dressed, handsome in a generic way. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Just looking," Lena said. "I took a wrong turn. Happens all the time. This place is a maze." He walked closer. "I'm Marco, Carlos's business partner, and you're Lena. Adrian's mysterious new girlfriend." "Not that mysterious." "Oh, I disagree. Very mysterious. No one's ever heard of you. You appear out of nowhere. Adrian suddenly can't take his eyes off you." Marco's smile widened. "Makes a man curious." Something about his tone made Lena's skin crawl. "I should get back. He's not good for you, you know." Marco stepped closer, too close. "Adrian, he's a dangerous man, gets people hurt, gets people killed. You seem nice, normal, you don't belong in this world. I can make my own choices. Can you?" His hand came up, reaching toward her face. "Or did he make this choice for you?" "Step back." The voice came from behind Marco, low, deadly calm. "Adrian." Marco turned, his hand dropping. "We were just talking." "No." Adrian moved past Marco like he wasn't there, positioning himself between Marco and Lena. "You were bothering her. There's a difference." "Easy, Adrian. I was being friendly." "You were being inappropriate." Adrian's voice stayed level, but Lena could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his hands flexed at his sides. "Go back to the party, Marco." "Or what?" The air went sharp. Lena stopped breathing. Adrian took one step forward. Just one. But something in that movement made Marco back up like he'd been shoved. "Or I'll remind you why my father's in charge, and you're not," Adrian said quietly. "Go." Marco went, fast. Adrian stood there for a long moment, not moving, before turning to face Lena. His expression was careful, controlled. "You okay?" "Yeah, he just creeped me out." "He's always been a creep. I should have warned you." Adrian's jaw clenched. "Did he touch you?" "No, you got here first." Something flickered in his eyes. "Good." They stood there in the hallway, close enough that Lena could feel the heat coming off him, could smell whatever expensive cologne he wore under the sharper edge of anger. "This was a mistake," she said quietly. "I shouldn't be here. I don't fit in your world." "No, you don't," Adrian said it bluntly. "That's exactly why you're perfect. That doesn't make sense. It does to me. His hand came up, fingers brushing her cheek so lightly she might have imagined it. Everyone else in my world wants something from me. Power, money, connections. You just want to get through the night and collect your paycheck. Is that supposed to be romantic? No. It's supposed to be honest. His thumb traced her jawline. You're real, Lena. Everyone else is performing, but you're actually real. Her heart was hammering. This is just a job. Is it? Yes. Then why are you looking at me like that? Like what? Like this isn't pretend anymore. Lena opened her mouth, closed it, had no idea what to say. Because he was right. Somewhere between the diner and this hallway, between his hand on her back and his thumb on her jaw, the lines had blurred. The act had started feeling less like an act. And that was dangerous. Before she could find words, voices echoed from the main room, someone calling for Adrian. The moment broke. Adrian stepped back, his hand dropping. His expression shifted, walls going back up. Come on. They'll wonder where we are. They walked back together. His hand found hers, their fingers laced, and Lena tried to ignore how natural it felt. The rest of the night blurred together. More conversations, more wine, a toast by Adrian's father that was equal parts warm and warning, Maria cornering Lena to tell her embarrassing stories about Adrian as a kid. Sophia, the younger sister, studying Lena with sharp eyes and asking questions that felt like tests. Through it all, Adrian stayed close, always touching, always watching, always present. At 11:30, they said their goodbyes. Elena hugged Lena like they were old friends and made her promise to come back soon. Carlos shook her hand with a grip that was firm but not crushing, his eyes searching hers for something she couldn't name. The car was waiting. They slid into the back seat together. The driver pulled away from the house, the lights fading behind them. Silence filled the space between them. You did good, Adrian said finally. Better than I expected. Thanks, I think. My mother likes you. That's rare. Your uncle thinks I'm suspicious. Everyone thinks everyone is suspicious. It's a family trait. He turned to look at her. Marco won't bother you again. What did you do? Nothing, yet. His voice was flat. But if he tries anything, I will. Lena believed him. That was the scary part. She believed every word. They drove through the sleeping city, past the downtown lights, back toward her neighborhood. Adrian's hand was still holding hers, had been the entire drive. The car stopped in front of her building. The driver didn't move to open the door. Adrian turned in his seat, facing her fully. There's something I need to tell you. What? Tonight wasn't just about buying time with my family. His eyes searched hers in the dim light. It was also about seeing if I could do this, pretend, play a role, be someone I'm not. And I couldn't. He said it quietly. Because somewhere in the middle of tonight, I stopped pretending. Lena's breath caught. Adrian, I know what we agreed. One night, 50,000. Walk away. His thumb brushed across her knuckles. But I don't want you to walk away. This is crazy. Probably. You don't even know me. I know enough. No, you know what you need me to be. There's a difference. Is there? He leaned closer. Tell me you didn't feel it too. Tell me this whole night was just an act for you. Tell me when I touched you, you were only thinking about the money. Lena couldn't, because it would be a lie. I can't do this, she said instead. Your world, my world, they don't mix. Tonight it was nice. It was fun. But it's not real. It could be. No, it couldn't. She pulled her hand away, immediately missing the warmth. I'm a waitress, Adrian. I live in a studio apartment with a broken heater. I eat ramen for dinner more nights than not. You live in a mansion. You have drivers and guards, and a family that could probably make me disappear if they decided I was a problem. They wouldn't. You don't know that. I don't know that. She reached for the door handle. Thank you for tonight, and for the money, but this ends here. She got out of the car before he could respond, before she could change her mind. She made it 3 steps toward her building before his voice stopped her. Lena. She turned. He was standing outside the car now, hands in his pockets, looking at her across the distance. The streetlight cast shadows across his face. If you change your mind, he said. "You have my number." "I won't." "But if you do." She didn't answer, just turned and walked inside, up the stairs, into her apartment. She locked the door, leaned against it, tried to breathe. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Just 2 words. "Thank you." And then another message. A payment confirmation. $50,000. Deposited into her account. Lena stood there in her tiny apartment, in her expensive dress, holding her phone with shaking hands. She'd made it through the night. She'd played her role. She'd earned her money. It was over. So why did it feel like something was just beginning? Lena didn't sleep that night either. She lay in bed staring at her phone, at the number that showed more money than she'd seen in her entire life, and tried to convince herself she'd done the right thing. By Monday morning, she almost believed it. She went back to work, put on her uniform, tied her hair back, poured coffee and took orders and pretended the previous Friday night had been a dream. Mickey asked where she'd been, said she looked different somehow. She told him she'd had the flu. He didn't look convinced, but let it drop. The $50,000 sat in her account like a bomb waiting to go off. She paid rent, paid off her car, set aside money for bills. The rest she left untouched, like it might disappear if she acknowledged it too directly. 3 days passed, then 4. She told herself she was relieved Adrian hadn't contacted her, told herself the empty feeling in her chest was just exhaustion from extra shifts, told herself she didn't check her phone every 20 minutes, hoping for a message that never came. On Thursday night, a man in an expensive suit walked into Rosie's at midnight. Lena's heart jumped into her throat. But it wasn't Adrian. This man was older, softer around the edges. He sat at the counter and ordered coffee, black, and when Lena set it down, he slid a business card across to her. Not Adrian's card, a different one, embossed, gold lettering. "Mr. Varela requests your presence," the man said politely. "Saturday evening, 8 p.m., the address is on the back." Lena's hands went cold. "I already told him. He's aware of your previous conversation. This is a different matter. Business, not personal." The man's smile was professional, empty. "He's prepared to compensate you for your time, of course. $5,000 for the evening." "What kind of business?" "That's between you and Mr. Varela. The car will arrive at 7:30. He stood, leaving a $100 bill next to his untouched coffee. "Have a pleasant evening, Miss Brooks." He left before Lena could refuse. She stared at the card, at the address written in neat handwriting on the back. Not the mansion, somewhere downtown. A restaurant, maybe. She should throw it away. Should block his number, if she even had his real number. Should make it clear she wasn't available for whatever games he was playing. Instead, she tucked the card into her apron pocket and finished her shift. Saturday came whether she wanted it to or not. Lena stood in front of her closet again, hating herself a little. She'd already decided she wasn't going, had decided it 3 times. But here she was, pulling out the green dress again, checking her makeup in the bathroom mirror. Just business, she told herself. $5,000 for a few hours. She'd be stupid to turn that down. The car arrived exactly on time. Different driver. Same expensive silence. They drove downtown to a restaurant Lena had walked past 100 times but never entered. The kind of place where reservations were made months in advance, and the prices weren't listed on the menu because if you had to ask, you couldn't afford it. The driver opened her door. A host was already waiting, leading her through the main dining room, heads turning as she passed, to a private room in the back. Adrian sat alone at a table set for 2. He stood when she entered, same sharp suit, same dark eyes. But there was something different about his expression. Tired, maybe, or uncertain. "You came," he said. "You paid me to." Lena stayed near the door. "Your messenger said this was business." "It is. Sit, please." She sat, kept her purse in her lap, kept her guard up. Adrian poured wine without asking if she wanted it. "How have you been?" "Fine, working, existing, the usual." "You paid your rent." "How do you—" She stopped. "Right. You're still having me watched." "No, I checked your account to make sure the payment went through properly." He set the wine bottle down carefully. "I'm not having you followed, Lena. I'm not that much of a creep." "Just the regular amount of creep?" His mouth twitched. "Something like that." A waiter appeared with appetizers Lena hadn't ordered, set them down silently, and vanished. "What do you want, Adrian?" He was quiet for a long moment, turning his wine glass in slow circles. My family loved you. That's nice. My mother called me 6 times this week, asking when she'd see you again. Sophia demanded your number. Even my father said you seemed decent. That's high praise from him. I'm thrilled. They think we're together now. Actually, together. Adrian looked up, meeting her eyes. I may have let them continue thinking that. Lena set down her fork with a sharp click. Excuse me? I told them we were taking things slow, that you were nervous about the family, about the expectations, that I was giving you space. Without asking me first, yes, you can't just decide we're in a fake relationship without telling me. I'm telling you now. Lena stood up. I'm leaving. Sit down. No. Lena. His voice went harder. Please, sit down. Hear me out. Something in his tone made her pause. Not quite desperation. Not quite command. Something in between. She sat, crossed her arms, waited. Adrian leaned back in his chair, studying her. My family operates on certain expectations, traditions. One of those traditions is that the oldest son gets married by 35 and starts producing heirs to continue the business. You're a crime family, just say it. We prefer family business, but yes, essentially. He didn't flinch from it. I'm 33, the pressure's building. They've been introducing me to suitable women for 2 years now, daughters of business partners, associates, women who understand the life and know what they're getting into. And you don't want them. I don't want to be forced into a strategic marriage like I'm a chess piece. His jaw tightened. My whole life has been duty, responsibility, doing what's expected. I thought bringing you to dinner would buy me time, make them back off for a few months. But it backfired. Spectacularly. Now they think I've finally found someone on my own terms. Someone real. Someone who might actually make me happy. He laughed, sharp and bitter. The irony is incredible. Lena picked up her wine glass, mostly to give her hands something to do. So what do you want from me? Keep playing the role. Not forever, just for a while. Long enough for me to figure out my next move. How long is a while? 3 months. Maybe 4. That's not a while. That's a relationship. A fake relationship. One your family believes is real. One where they'll expect to see me regularly, get to know me. Where I'll have to keep lying to people who actually seem nice. Lena shook her head. I can't do that. Why not? Because it's wrong. Because they'll get attached. Because when it ends, it'll hurt them. She met his eyes. And because it'll hurt me. Adrian went very still. What? You think I didn't notice? Lena's voice went quiet. How easy it was to pretend with you. How your hand felt normal in mine. How when you looked at me like I mattered, part of me wanted to believe it. Lena, I'm not stupid, Adrian. I know what this is. You're paying me to play a role, that's all. But the more time I spend in your world, the harder it'll be to remember that. And when it ends, when you find someone real or decide you've bought enough time, I'll be the one left trying to separate what was real from what was performance. She stood again. I won't do that to myself. What if it doesn't have to be performance? The words hung between them. Lena stared at him. Don't? Don't what? Don't say things you don't mean just to get me to agree. I'm not. Adrian stood too, moving around the table toward her. That night in the hallway when I said I'd stopped pretending, I meant it, every word. You don't know me. I know you work 2 jobs and still find time to help the new waitress learn the register. I know you send money to your mom even though she doesn't ask for it. I know you're terrified of failing but more terrified of never trying. I know when you laugh at something that actually surprises you, you cover your mouth like you're embarrassed. I know... Stop. Lena's voice cracked. You investigated me. That's not the same as knowing me. Then let me actually know you. He was close now. Too close. 3 months. I'll pay you $10,000 a month. All you have to do is show up to family dinners, maybe a few events. Let me take you to dinner sometimes. Let my family think we're real. And then what? When the 3 months are up? Then we end it. Mutual decision. We tell them it didn't work out. They'll be disappointed, but they'll move on. You're describing a relationship with an expiration date. I'm describing an arrangement where we both get what we need. His hand came up, stopping just short of touching her face. You get financial security, time to figure out what you actually want to do with your life instead of just surviving. I get my family off my back, space to breathe. It's practical. It's insane, maybe. But is it really more insane than working yourself to death for minimum wage in a diner where the owner sexually harasses the staff and you're one bad shift away from not making rent? Lena flinched. How did you? I told you. I had you investigated. Your boss is a creep. You've reported him twice. Nothing happened because he's friends with the district manager. Adrian's voice went hard. You deserve better than that. And you're better? No, but I'm honest about what I am. They stood there inches apart, the air between them crackling with something Lena didn't want to name. $30,000, she said finally. For 3 months. And when it ends clean. No drama. No mess. Agreed. And I want it in writing, a contract, terms clearly laid out. Adrian's eyebrows rose. You don't trust me. You're a criminal. Of course I don't trust you. He smiled, actually smiled. Smart woman. I'll have my lawyer draw something up. You're a legitimate lawyer or your mob lawyer? Is there a difference? Despite everything, Lena almost laughed. This is such a bad idea. Terrible, Adrian agreed. Are you in? She should say no, should walk out, should go back to her normal life and forget this man and his dangerous world and his complicated family ever existed. But $30,000, 3 months, and maybe, just maybe, a chance to figure out if the connection she felt was real or just another lie she was telling herself. I'm in, she said. Adrian's smile widened. He extended his hand like they were closing a business deal. Partners? Lena took it. His grip was warm and firm and steady. Partners. They shook, sealed it, and Lena tried very hard not to think about how that handshake felt more intimate than some kisses she'd had. The contract arrived Monday morning via courier. 10 pages of legal language that basically said Lena agreed to act as Adrian's girlfriend for 3 months in exchange for $10,000 per month, paid weekly. There were clauses about discretion, termination conditions, and what constituted breach of contract. It was thorough, professional, completely surreal. Lena signed it in her kitchen with her roommate's pen, scanned it with her phone, and emailed it back. An hour later, the first payment hit her account. The second dinner was scheduled for Wednesday. Family game night, the text from Adrian said. Casual. His mother's house. Lena showed up in jeans and a nice sweater, feeling underdressed the moment she walked in. But Elena greeted her with a hug, and Sophia immediately dragged her into the kitchen to taste test cookies. And within 20 minutes, Lena had almost forgotten she was being paid to be there. Almost. Adrian found her in the living room where she'd been cornered by Uncle Vincent and his stories about the old neighborhood. His hand settled on her lower back. Familiar now, expected, and he steered her away smoothly. Rescue mission, he murmured in her ear. Your uncle's sweet. My uncle's drunk and about to tell you the story about my father in the butcher shop again. Trust me, you don't want to hear it. They ended up on a couch together, Adrian's arms stretched along the back behind her shoulders. Natural, easy, like they'd done this 100 times. Maria appeared with her kids, the baby and a 4-year-old boy who immediately climbed onto Adrian's lap and started babbling about dinosaurs. Uncle Adrian, do you know T-Rex? I do. Big teeth, tiny arms, terrible at hugs. The kid giggled. You're funny. Your mom doesn't think so. Maria rolled her eyes. Don't corrupt my children. She looked at Lena. He's actually great with kids. Surprised? A little, Lena admitted. He pretends to be all tough and scary, but he's a marshmallow. Aren't you, Adrian? I have no idea what you're talking about. But his hand was gentle on the kid's back, keeping him steady. Lena's chest tightened watching them. This version of Adrian, relaxed, playful, human, didn't match the man who'd walked into her diner with blood on his cuffs. Didn't match the dangerous edge she'd seen when Marco got too close. But it was real. She could tell. This wasn't performance, which made everything more complicated. Game night was chaotic. Teams formed and dissolved. People argued about rules. Elena insisted on old-fashioned board games while the younger cousins wanted video games. Somehow they compromised with charades, which devolved into shouting and accusations of cheating within 10 minutes. Adrian was on Lena's team. He was terrible at charades. Absolutely terrible. He acted out swimming like he was having a seizure and tried to mime Gone with the Wind by literally blowing on people. Lena laughed until her stomach hurt. "You're the worst at this," she told him when they lost spectacularly. "I have many talents. This isn't one of them." "What are your talents?" His eyes glinted. "Want me to show you?" "Keep it clean, you two," Maria called from across the room. "There are children present." Adrian's parents left around 10. The crowd thinned. Soon it was just Adrian's generation, his sisters, a few cousins, and Lena. Someone opened expensive whiskey. Sophia told embarrassing stories about Adrian's teenage years. They laughed and argued, and for a while Lena forgot to be nervous. Forgot this was temporary. Forgot she was being paid. It just felt like being part of something, like belonging. Around midnight, Adrian drove her home. His car this time, not the driver. Something low and fast that purred like a predator. "Your family's nice," Lena said, watching the city lights blur past. "They liked you. I told you they would." Sophia's still suspicious. Sophia's always suspicious. It's her default setting. Adrian glanced over. "You did good tonight. Natural. Like you actually wanted to be there." "I did want to be there." The admission surprised them both. Adrian's hand found hers across the center console. "Good." They drove in comfortable silence until Adrian pulled up in front of her building. He kept the engine running but didn't let go of her hand. "Same time Friday?" he asked. "Dinner. Just us. No family." "Is that part of the arrangement?" "It's part of selling the relationship. People will ask what we do together. We need answers that sound real." "Right. The arrangement." Lena pulled her hand away. "Friday's fine. Text me the details." She got out before he could respond, before the moment could stretch into something dangerous, but she felt his eyes on her all the way to her door. Friday's dinner was at a small Italian place tucked into a side street. Quiet. Intimate. The kind of place where the owner knew Adrian by name and didn't ask questions about the two men positioned at a table by the door. "Bodyguards?" Lena asked when they sat down. "Security. There's a difference." "Is there?" "One sounds less paranoid." Adrian ordered wine without looking at the menu. "They're here because I have enemies. People who'd love to get to me through someone I care about." "I'm not someone you care about. I'm an employee." "My enemies don't know that." The weight of that settled over Lena. She'd known intellectually that Adrian was dangerous, that his world was violent, but sitting here, knowing men with guns were watching the door because someone might try to hurt her to get to him, that made it real. "Having second thoughts?" Adrian asked. "About 100 of them." "Want to back out?" "Do I get to keep the money I've already received?" "Contract says no. You'd have to return it." "Then I guess I'm stuck with you." His smile was crooked. "Could be worse." "Could it?" "I could be boring." "True. Boring men don't usually come with armed guards." They ordered. The food was incredible, the kind of Italian Lena had only seen on cooking shows. Adrian ate like someone who'd forgotten to enjoy food, mechanical and efficient. "When's the last time you did something just for fun?" Lena asked. Adrian paused, fork halfway to his mouth. Define fun. Jesus, that's depressing. "I go to the gym. That's fun." "That's exercise, not the same thing." "What do you do for fun?" Lena thought about it. "I read, watch movies. Sometimes I walk around the city and people watch." "That's it?" "I work 60 hours a week. Fun is a luxury." Adrian set down his fork. "What would you do if you didn't have to work?" "I don't know. I've never thought about it." "Think about it now." Lena sat back, considering. "Travel, maybe. I've never left the state, never even been on a plane." "Where would you go?" "Somewhere warm, with beaches. Somewhere that doesn't have winter." She smiled. "Somewhere I could read a book without worrying about rent or bills or whether my car's going to die." "That's not ambitious. It's realistic." "Realism is overrated." Adrian's eyes stayed on hers. "You should want more than that." "What should I want?" "Whatever makes you happy." "And what makes you happy, Adrian?" He was quiet for a long moment. "Honestly, I don't remember." The vulnerability in those words hit Lena harder than she expected. This man who controlled so much, who commanded respect and fear, who moved through the world like he owned it, he didn't know what made him happy. "That's really sad," she said softly. "It's reality." "Realism is overrated. You said so yourself." Adrian's laugh was surprised and genuine, using my words against me. You're not the only one who's smart. Never thought I was. His hand reached across the table, fingers brushing hers. This, right now, this makes me happy. Lena's breath caught. Adrian, I know. The arrangement, the contract, the expiration date. His fingers threaded through hers. But right now, in this moment, I'm happy. That's worth something. She should pull away, should remind him this was business, should maintain the boundaries they'd agreed on. Instead, she held his hand and let herself be happy too. The next 2 weeks fell into a pattern. Dinner with his family twice. One lunch with just his mother, which was terrifying until Elena started asking Lena's advice about redecorating and treating her like an actual person instead of an interloper. A charity gala where Lena wore a dress Adrian had sent over and tried not to gawk at the price tag. They talked, more than Lena expected, about everything and nothing. He told her about growing up in the family business, about learning young that trust was currency and loyalty was survival. She told him about her hometown, about leaving because staying meant drowning in everyone else's expectations. They didn't talk about the end date, about what happened when 3 months ran out. It felt too much like tempting fate. Lena was closing up Rosie's on a Tuesday night when her phone rang. Adrian's name on the screen. She answered. Little late for a social call. Where are you? His voice was tight, wrong. Work. Why? Stay there. I'm sending a car. Adrian, what's... Just stay inside, lock the doors, don't let anyone in until my driver gets there. He hung up before she could argue. Lena's hands shook as she locked the diner doors. She turned off the outside lights, kept only the back office lamp on. Watched the empty street through the window. 15 minutes felt like hours. The black car pulled up. The driver she recognized got out, looked around carefully, then knocked on the glass. Lena let him in, locked the door again. Miss Brooks, Mr. Varela asked me to bring you to him. What's going on? He'll explain, please. The drive took them to Adrian's mansion, the first time she'd been back since that initial night. The gates opened automatically. The house was lit up like daylight. Adrian met her at the door. His jacket was off, his shirt sleeves rolled up. There was a cut on his cheekbone, fresh, still bleeding a little. What happened? Lena reached for his face without thinking. He caught her hand. We had a problem. It's handled. You're bleeding. It's nothing. Adrian, Chub, someone tried to send me a message tonight. Followed one of my men. Made threats. His jaw clenched. They mentioned you? Lena's blood went cold. Me? They knew your name, knew where you worked, knew we'd been seen together. Adrian's grip on her hand tightened. I told you, my enemies will use anyone to get to me. But we're not really... They don't know that. They think you matter to me. His eyes burned into hers. So you're a target now. The weight of it crashed over her. This wasn't just playing pretend anymore. This was real danger, real consequences. I want out, she said, because the contract, I'm done. No. You can't just say no. I'm ending this. It's too dangerous. Ending it now makes it worse. Adrian pulled her further inside, away from the windows. If we break up suddenly, they'll know something's wrong. They'll push harder. But if we stay together, if I make it clear you're protected, they'll back off. Targeting you becomes too expensive. Or they'll just try harder. Not if I make an example of whoever threatened you tonight. Lena stared at him. What does that mean? It means I protect what's mine. I'm not yours. This is fake, remember? Fake or not, you're under my protection now. That's real. His hand came up to cup her face, thumb gentle on her cheekbone. I won't let anyone hurt you, Lena. I promise. You can't promise that. Watch me. They stood there in his enormous foyer, her in her diner uniform, and him in his expensive shirt with blood on his face. And Lena realized with absolute certainty that everything had changed. This wasn't an arrangement anymore. This was something far more dangerous. And neither of them knew how to stop it. Adrian insisted she stay the night. Not a request. A statement of fact delivered in a tone that left no room for argument. Lena was too rattled to fight him on it. He led her upstairs to a guest room that was bigger than her entire apartment. Told her there were clothes in the closet that would fit. His sisters left things here sometimes. Said his room was down the hall if she needed anything. Then he left her alone with her racing thoughts and the kind of silence that only existed in houses this big. Lena sat on the edge of the bed and tried to process what had just happened. Someone knew about her. Someone dangerous. Someone who thought hurting her would hurt Adrian. Her phone buzzed. Mickey asking where she was. She'd left without telling him, just locked up and vanished. She texted back that she had a family emergency. Hated lying but couldn't exactly explain the truth. Another buzz. Her landlord. Noise complaint from the neighbors. Could she keep it down? Lena stared at the message. She wasn't even home. Hadn't been home in hours. Her hands went cold. She was out of the room and down the hall before she could think it through. Found Adrian's door by instinct, knocked once, and pushed it open. He was on his phone, pacing by the windows. Looked up when she entered, eyes sharp. "Someone's at my apartment," Lena said. "My landlord just texted about noise, but I'm here." Adrian's expression went flat, deadly. He spoke into the phone in rapid Spanish, words clipped and harsh. Hung up. "How long ago?" 2 minutes. "They're checking it now. I already had men watching your building." He moved toward her. "You're not going back there." "It's my home." "It's compromised. You'll stay here until we know it's safe." "Adrian, I can't just move in with you. People will think exactly what we want them to think. That we're serious. That you're important enough to live under my roof." His hand caught her elbow. "This actually helps sell it." "Help sell? Are you serious right now? Someone broke into my apartment and you're thinking about optics?" "I'm thinking about keeping you alive." His voice was sharp, angry. "You think this is a game? You think these people make idle threats? They went to your home, Lena. They know where you sleep." The reality of it hit her again, harder this time. She swayed slightly. Adrian's hand steadied her. "Sit down." "I'm fine." "You're pale. Sit." She sat on the edge of his bed because her legs weren't totally reliable anymore. Adrian's room was different from the guest room, darker, more personal. Books on the nightstand, a jacket thrown over a chair. It smelled like his cologne and something else, something that was just him. He crouched in front of her, hands on her knees. "Breathe." "I'm breathing." "You're hyperventilating. Slow down." Lena focused on his face, on his eyes, watching her with something that looked almost like fear. She breathed, in, out, counted to 4 each way like she'd learned in some long-ago yoga class. His phone rang. He answered without moving away from her, listened, said something short in Spanish, hung up. "They found evidence someone was inside, searched through your things. Nothing taken. Just looking." His jaw clenched. "They're gone now. Building's secure. But you're not going back." "All my stuff. I'll have it packed and brought here tomorrow. Anything you need tonight, we'll get." Lena laughed. It came out harsh. "This is insane. This whole thing is insane." "I know. I signed up to go to family dinners, not to have my life threatened, not to move into your house." "I know. Stop saying that." "What do you want me to say?" Adrian's hands tightened on her knees. "That I'm sorry? I am. That I didn't think this through? I didn't. That if I could go back and not drag you into this, I would?" "Would you?" He went quiet. His eyes searched hers. "No, I wouldn't." The honesty of it stole her breath. "I should want to," he continued. "I should regret every choice that led here, but I don't, because the alternative is not knowing you, and that feels worse than the danger." "That's the most selfish thing I've ever heard. I'm a selfish man." "I'm starting to notice." They stayed like that. Him kneeling in front of her, her trying to figure out if she wanted to hit him or kiss him or both. "I'll pay you extra," Adrian said finally. "Double. 20,000 a month, and I'll make sure you're protected. Real protection. Not just drivers and bodyguards, but actual safety measures. New identity if you want it. Relocation after this is over. Whatever you need." "I don't want your money." "Then what do you want?" The question hung between them, heavy, loaded. Lena didn't know how to answer it, didn't know if she wanted to. "I want to feel safe," she said instead. "I want to wake up tomorrow and not be terrified. I want this to be over." "It will be. I'll end this. I'll find whoever threatened you, and I'll make sure they never do it again." "How?" "You don't want to know." "Maybe I do." Adrian stood, creating distance. No, you don't. Trust me on this. He walked to his dresser, pulled out clothes, sweatpants, a t-shirt, handed them to her. These will be big, but they're clean. Bathrooms through there, take your time. It was a dismissal, gentle but firm. Lena took the clothes and locked herself in his bathroom. It was all marble and chrome and probably cost more than her yearly salary. She changed, washed her face, stared at herself in the mirror. The t-shirt hung to her thighs. The sweatpants had to be rolled 3 times at the waist. She looked ridiculous. She looked like she belonged to him. The thought should have scared her. It didn't. When she came out, Adrian was gone. A note on the bed in sharp handwriting. Guest room is yours. Lock the door. I'm downstairs if you need me. Lena stood there holding the note. She should go to the guest room, should lock the door like he said, should maintain whatever boundaries still existed between them. Instead, she climbed into his bed, pulled his blankets around her, breathed in the scent of him and tried not to think about what that meant. She didn't sleep much. Every sound was a potential threat, every shadow a possible intruder. But the bed was comfortable and the house was quiet, and eventually exhaustion won. She woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the smell of coffee. Adrian sat in a chair by the window, watching her, still in yesterday's clothes, like he'd never gone to bed. "Morning," he said. Lena sat up, pushing hair out of her face. "Have you been there all night?" "Couldn't sleep. You should have woken me. I would have gone to the guest room. I wasn't in here because of the bed." His eyes were shadowed, tired. "I was here because if something happened, I wanted to be close." The confession settled over her like a blanket, heavy, warm. "Nothing happened," she said. "I know. I made sure of it." "Adrian, your things are being packed now. Should be here by noon. I cleared out space in one of the guest suites, private bathroom, walk-in closet. You'll have privacy." "How long am I staying?" "As long as it takes." "That's not an answer. It's the only one I have." He stood, stretched. Something in his back cracked. "I have meetings this morning. Business. You'll have security with you if you need to go anywhere. Don't leave the property without telling someone, preferably me." "I'm not a prisoner." "No, you're protected. There's a difference." "Is there?" He crossed to the bed, leaned down. For a second, Lena thought he might kiss her. Instead, his forehead pressed against hers. Just contact. Just closeness. "I won't let anything happen to you," he murmured. "I promise." Then he was gone, leaving Lena alone in his bed trying to remember why this was supposed to be temporary. The next week was an adjustment. Lena's things arrived in boxes she didn't pack. Someone had gone through her apartment and grabbed everything: clothes, books, the coffee maker that barely worked, photos she'd forgotten she had. It all looked smaller here, cheaper, like pieces of a life that didn't quite fit anymore. Sophia showed up unannounced on Tuesday with lunch and a million questions Lena deflected badly. Maria came by Wednesday with the kids, who immediately claimed Lena as their new favorite person and demanded she play dinosaurs. Elena called every day just to check in, her warmth genuine enough that Lena felt guilty about the lies. Adrian was gone most days. Business, he said. Meetings. Things he couldn't talk about. He came home late smelling like cigars and expensive whiskey and something sharper. Danger, maybe. Violence. He never came to her room, never pushed, just checked in through closed doors and left her alone. It was driving her crazy. Thursday night, Lena waited up, sat in the living room with a book she wasn't reading, and listened for his car. He came in around 11, stopped when he saw her. "You're still awake." "Couldn't sleep." She closed the book. "We need to talk." Something flickered in his expression. "About?" "This. Us. Whatever this is." She stood. "I've been here a week. We barely see each other. Your family thinks we're serious, but we're not even friends. This doesn't make sense." "What do you want to change?" "I don't know. Something. We should at least pretend to act like a couple when it's just us. Otherwise, how do we sell it to everyone else?" Adrian was quiet. Then, "You want to spend more time together. I want this to feel less fake. And if it starts feeling too real, then we deal with it." Lena moved closer. "Right now, I'm living in your house, lying to your family, and I barely know you. That needs to change." "What do you want to know?" "Everything. Anything. What you do all day. What you actually think about. Why you never smile except when your nephew talks about dinosaurs. Adrian's mouth twitched. Almost a smile. That kid's obsessed with dinosaurs. See? That. I want more of that. He studied her for a long moment. Tomorrow. Take the day off. We'll do something. What kind of something? You said you wanted to know me. I'll show you. The next morning, Adrian woke her at 7 with coffee and instructions to dress casual. They drove out of the city in his car, no driver, no security visible. Just them and the open road. Where are we going? Lena asked. You'll see. They drove for 2 hours, out past the suburbs into farmland and small towns, finally pulled up to a gun range in the middle of nowhere. Lena stared. You're kidding. You should know how to protect yourself. Adrian got out. Come on. The range was private. No other shooters. Just an instructor who clearly knew Adrian and asked no questions. He set them up with pistols, ear protection, and targets. I've never shot a gun, Lena said. I know. That's why we're here. Adrian moved behind her, adjusting her stance, his hands on her hips, his chest against her back. Feet shoulder-width apart. Firm grip, but don't strangle it. Both eyes open. Lena could barely focus on the instructions. His voice was low in her ear, his body warm against hers. This felt more intimate than anything they'd done. Breathe out and squeeze, he murmured. She fired. The recoil surprised her. The target stayed untouched. Again, they spent 2 hours there. By the end, Lena could hit the target more often than not. Her arms ached, her ears rang despite the protection, but she felt powerful, capable. Why did you really bring me here? She asked when they were back in the car. Because if something happens and I'm not there, you need to be able to defend yourself. Nothing's going to happen. Probably not, but I don't take chances. Not with you. They stopped for lunch at a diner that reminded Lena of Rosie's, sat in a corner booth, and ordered burgers and fries like normal people. Tell me about your family, Lena said. The real version, not the public one. Adrian was quiet for a moment. What do you want to know? Why you do this? The business. Was it a choice? No, I was born into it. My father was born into it. His father before him. It's legacy, tradition, expectation. He picked at his fries. I was 14 when I understood what we really did, what my father was. I thought about running, leaving, being someone else. Why didn't you? Because running means my sisters inherit it. Maria, Sophia. They'd have to carry the weight, make the choices, live with the blood. His jaw clenched. I couldn't do that to them. So you sacrificed yourself. I did what I had to do. Lena reached across the table, covered his hand with hers. That's not the same thing. He looked at their joined hands. Sometimes I wonder who I'd be if I'd been born into a different family. Normal job, normal life. No violence, no secrets. Would you be happy? I don't know, maybe. He turned his hand over, threading his fingers through hers. Would you have noticed me? If I was just some guy? I don't know. Would you have noticed me? Yes. No hesitation. You stood out that night in the diner. Even before I knew I needed you, I noticed you. I was covered in coffee stains and exhausted. You were real. Everything else in my life is performance. But you were just you. Lena's heart hammered. Adrian, I know. The contract, the arrangement, the end date. His thumb brushed her knuckles. But we're not with my family right now. We're not being watched. This is just us. So I'm telling you the truth. I noticed you. And I haven't stopped noticing you since. The diner felt too small suddenly. Too warm. Lena pulled her hand back before she did something stupid. We should go, she said. They drove back in loaded silence. The sun was setting when they pulled through the gates. Adrian parked but didn't get out. Thank you, Lena said. For today, for teaching me to shoot, for lunch, for actually talking to me. Thank you for asking. They sat there in the darkening car, close but not touching, the air between them electric. I should go in, Lena said. Yeah. Neither of them moved. Adrian, he kissed her, not soft, not gentle, hard and desperate like he'd been holding back for weeks and finally broke. His hand cupped the back of her neck, fingers threading through her hair. His mouth moved against hers like he was drowning and she was air. Lena kissed him back, grabbed his shirt, pulled him closer, forgot every reason this was a bad idea. When they broke apart, they were both breathing hard. "We shouldn't," Lena started. "I know. The contract, I know. But I can't stop thinking about you." "I know." His forehead rested against hers. "I can't either." "What do we do?" "I don't know." They stayed like that, breathing the same air, wanting the same thing, knowing it would complicate everything. Finally, Adrian pulled back. "Go inside, before I do something I can't take back." Lena went, felt his eyes on her all the way to the door. That night, she lay in bed staring at the ceiling and tried to figure out when this stopped being an arrangement and started being real. The answer scared her, because it had stopped being fake the moment Adrian's hand first touched hers. Maybe even before that. Maybe the second he walked into her diner and looked at her like she mattered. Everything since then had just been both of them pretending they didn't feel it. Saturday brought another family dinner, this time at a restaurant Adrian's family apparently owned. Private room, long table, everyone dressed nice. Lena wore a dress Adrian had bought her, refused to let her refuse it, said she needed clothes that fit his world. It was deep blue. Simple. Expensive. Made her feel like someone else. Adrian's hand was possessive on her back when they walked in. His eyes warned off anyone who looked too long. He kept her close all night. Marco was there. Lena felt him watching her from across the table, felt his attention like an itch she couldn't scratch. Adrian noticed. His hand tightened on her thigh under the table. Midway through dinner, Marco stood, raised his glass. A toast to Adrian and his lovely Lena. May their relationship be as profitable as it is surprising. The words landed wrong, heavy with implication. Adrian's face went cold. "Careful, Marco. Just expressing my happiness for you both." Marco's smile was sharp. "It's rare to see you so devoted. Sit down. I'm just saying she must be very special to make you forget yourself like this." Adrian stood. The room went silent. "Outside, now." "Adrian, it's fine," Carlos started. "No, it's not." Adrian's eyes never left Marco. "Outside." They went. Lena started to follow, but Maria caught her arm. "Let them handle it," Maria said quietly. "Trust me." Lena sat, tried to make conversation, tried to act normal while her heart raced. 10 minutes later, Adrian came back alone. His knuckles were red. His expression was ice. He sat next to Lena, hand immediately finding hers. Where were we? Nobody mentioned Marco's absence. The dinner continued like nothing happened, but Lena felt the shift, saw how people looked at Adrian differently, with more wariness, more respect, more fear. She was seeing him for what he really was, not the man who taught her to shoot or talked about dinosaurs with his nephew, the man who ruled through violence and intimidation. It should have scared her more than it did. On the drive home, Lena finally asked, "What did you do to him?" Reminded him of his place. "Adrian? He's fine. Bruised ego, bruised face. Nothing permanent." Adrian's hands were tight on the steering wheel. "He disrespected you. That's unacceptable." "So you hit him?" "Yes. That's not normal." "I'm not normal." He glanced at her. "Does it bother you?" Lena thought about it. Really thought. "It should." "But it doesn't?" "No, and that's what bothers me." She looked at him. "I should be horrified. I should want out. But instead I'm sitting here thinking about how you defended me and I like it. What does that say about me?" Adrian pulled into the driveway, killed the engine, turned to face her fully. "It says you're human. It says you like being protected. There's nothing wrong with that. There's everything wrong with that. I'm supposed to be independent, strong, not the kind of woman who needs a man to fight for her." "You don't need me to fight for you. You could fight for yourself. I taught you to shoot, remember?" His hand cupped her face. "But wanting someone in your corner doesn't make you weak. It makes you smart." "Is that what you are? In my corner, I'm wherever you need me to be." The truth of it hit her. This wasn't just attraction anymore. Wasn't just complicated feelings about a temporary arrangement. This was something deeper, something that didn't have an expiration date. "I'm scared," Lena admitted. "Of me? Of this? of what happens when the 3 months are up and I've gotten used to you being in my corner. Adrian's thumb brushed her cheekbone. Then maybe we don't let it end. What are you saying? I'm saying forget the contract, forget the timeline, forget everything we agreed to and just see where this goes. That's crazy. Probably. Your family will expect things, marriage, commitment, forever. Maybe I want those things too. Lena's breath caught. You don't mean that. Don't tell me what I mean. His eyes were intense, certain. I know what I want, Lena. I've known for weeks. I'm just waiting for you to catch up. This is too fast. Is it? We've spent nearly every day together for a month. I know you hate mornings but love morning coffee. I know you read the end of books first when you're nervous about how they'll turn out. I know you call your mom every Sunday, even though the conversations stress you out. I know you hum when you cook and you're terrified of thunderstorms, and you laugh at terrible jokes because you don't want people to feel bad. That's not... I know you, Lena, and you know me. Maybe not everything, maybe not the worst parts, but you know enough. His hand slid to the back of her neck. So tell me I'm wrong. Tell me you don't feel this too. Tell me I'm alone in this and I'll back off. She couldn't, because he wasn't wrong. She felt it, had been feeling it, had been fighting it because it was too much too soon with a man too dangerous for her safe, normal life. But her life wasn't safe or normal anymore. It was security details and family dinners and living in a mansion with a man who'd kill to protect her. And she didn't want to go back. You're not wrong, she whispered. Adrian kissed her, slower this time, deeper, like he had all the time in the world and he was going to use it, learning every inch of her mouth. When they broke apart, Lena was shaking. Inside, Adrian said, before I forget we're in a car. They made it to the front door, through it, halfway across the foyer before Adrian's control broke. He pushed her against the wall, kissed her hard enough to bruise. His hands were everywhere, her face, her hair, her waist, like he couldn't decide where to touch first. Lena kissed him back just as desperately, grabbed his jacket, pulled him closer, let herself drown in the feeling of finally giving in. Upstairs, she breathed against his mouth. You sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. Adrian laughed, picked her up like she weighed nothing, carried her up the stairs while she wrapped around him and tried to remember how to breathe. They made it to his room, to his bed, and Lena stopped thinking about contracts or arrangements or end dates. She just let herself feel. Lena woke up tangled in expensive sheets in Adrian's arms. Morning light filtered through the curtains, softer than it should be. The world felt different, quieter, like something fundamental had shifted while she slept. Adrian was already awake, watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Hi, she said. Hi. His voice was rough, morning rough. It did things to her insides. How long have you been awake? A while. That's not creepy at all. His mouth twitched. I was thinking about how this changes things. Lena's stomach tightened. Here it came. The regret. This was a mistake speech. She'd heard versions of it before from men who wanted her in the dark, but not in daylight. It doesn't have to change anything, she said, already pulling away. We can pretend it didn't happen. Go back to the arrangement. Adrian's arm tightened around her waist, keeping her close. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? I meant we can't keep pretending this is temporary. We can't keep lying to ourselves about what this is. And what is it? Real. He said it simply, like it was obvious. This is real, Lena. What I feel for you is real, and I think what you feel for me is too. Her heart was hammering. Adrian, I'm not asking you to marry me tomorrow. I'm not asking you to commit to forever right now. I'm just asking you to stop pretending you don't want this. His hand cupped her face. Can you do that? She could lie, could protect herself, could maintain the distance that kept her safe. But she was tired of lying, tired of protecting herself from something that already had her. Yes, she whispered, I can do that. He kissed her, slow and deep and thorough, like he was sealing a promise. When they finally made it downstairs, Elena was in the kitchen. Lena froze. Adrian's mother sat at the counter with coffee and a newspaper, looking perfectly at home in a house that wasn't hers. Good morning, Elena said, without looking up. There's coffee, and I made breakfast. You both look like you need it. Lena glanced at Adrian. He looked amused. Morning, Mama. What are you doing here? I have a key. I used it. Elena finally looked at them, her eyes sharp. Sit, eat. We need to talk. They sat. Elena pushed plates toward them. Eggs, toast, fruit, real food, the kind mothers made. So, Elena said, are you two going to tell me the truth, or do I have to drag it out of you? Lena's stomach dropped. What? The truth about how you met, about this relationship. Elena's eyes moved between them. I'm not stupid. I know my son. I know when he's hiding something. Adrian's face was carefully blank. I don't know what you mean. Please. You show up with a girl nobody's heard of. She's clearly not from our world. You're suddenly devoted after years of refusing every woman we introduced you to, and she looks at you like she's not sure if she should run or stay. Elena sipped her coffee. So I'll ask again. What's really going on? Lena's mouth went dry. This was it, the moment everything fell apart. But Adrian's hand found hers under the table, squeezed once. You're right, he said. I wasn't completely honest. Elena waited. We met at her work. I came in regularly. I was interested. She said no. Multiple times. Because she could tell I was trouble. Adrian's thumb stroked Lena's knuckles. When she finally said yes, I brought her to family dinner because I wanted to see if she could handle it, handle us, handle my life. And? Elena's eyes were on Lena now. And she's still here, Adrian said quietly. Despite everything. Despite the danger and the lies and the weight of what being with me means. She's still here. Is that true? Elena asked Lena directly. Are you here because you want to be? Lena could feel the weight of the question. The real question underneath. Not just about being in this kitchen, but being in this life. Yes, she said. I'm here because I want to be. Elena studied her for a long moment. Then she smiled. Good, because I like you. And my son needs someone who isn't afraid to tell him no. The tension broke. Lena could breathe again. So what happens now? Elena asked. Are you two actually together, or are you still figuring it out? Adrian looked at Lena. We're together. Good. Elena stood, gathering her purse. Then you'll both come to Sunday dinner. And Lena, wear something comfortable. Sophia's bringing her new boyfriend, and Maria's kids will destroy anything fancy. She left before either of them could respond. Lena stared at the door. Did that just happen? She knew. Adrian didn't sound surprised. Probably from the beginning. And she's okay with it? My mother's okay with anything that makes me less miserable. He pulled Lena closer. She likes you. That's not easy to earn. What if she finds out about the original arrangement, the contract? She won't. And even if she did, I don't think she'd care. The why doesn't matter anymore. Only the what is. Lena wanted to believe that. Wanted to trust that the foundation of lies wouldn't crack under the weight of what they were building. But doubt was a persistent thing. The next few days settled into a new normal. Lena still had her own room but rarely slept there. Adrian still worked long hours but came home to her. They had dinner together, talked, laughed, fought occasionally about stupid things like whether to watch a movie or read. It felt domestic, real. It terrified her. Wednesday afternoon, Lena was reading in Adrian's study when her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Hello? Lena Brooks? A woman's voice, professional, cold. Who's asking? My name is Detective Sarah Reeves. I'm with the Organized Crime Division. I'd like to ask you some questions about Adrian Varela. Lena's blood went cold. I don't know what you're talking about. I think you do. We've been watching Mr. Varela for quite some time. We know about his business operations, his family's activities, and we know about you. I haven't done anything wrong. I didn't say you had. But you're living with a dangerous man, Miss Brooks. A man who's involved in activities that could get you arrested. Or killed. I'm offering you a way out. I don't need a way out. Don't you? You were a waitress a month ago. Now you're living in a mansion, attending family dinners with known criminals, and dating a man who's suspected of multiple felonies. That doesn't strike you as worth questioning? Lena's hand tightened on the phone. I'm not answering questions without a lawyer. Smart. But Miss Brooks, think about this. When Adrian Varela goes down, and he will go down, Everyone close to him goes too. His family, his associates, his girlfriend. The detective's voice softened slightly. You seem like a nice person. Wrong place, wrong time. Help us, and we can protect you. Keep you out of it. I have nothing to say to you. My offer stands. When you change your mind, and you will, call me. The detective rattled off a number. Think about it, Miss Brooks. Think about who you're protecting and what it's costing you. The line went dead. Lena sat there shaking, staring at her phone, her mind racing. The police were watching Adrian, watching her. They thought she was involved, thought she could be turned. She should tell Adrian, right now, immediately. But something stopped her, because what if the detective was right? What if Adrian's world was about to collapse and she'd be buried in the rubble? She was still sitting there when Adrian came home an hour later. He took one look at her face and knew something was wrong. What happened? Nothing. Lena. I'm fine, just tired. He didn't believe her. She could see it in his eyes, but he didn't push. Just pulled her close and held her until the shaking stopped. That night, Lena lay awake while Adrian slept beside her. She stared at the ceiling and tried to figure out what she was doing, who she was becoming. A month ago, she was a waitress with simple problems. Rent, bills, exhaustion. Now she was sleeping with a crime boss, lying to his family, and being investigated by the police. This was insane, but when Adrian's arm tightened around her in his sleep, pulling her closer like even unconscious he needed her near, she couldn't bring herself to leave. Sunday dinner was chaos. Maria's kids ran wild. Sophia's new boyfriend looked terrified. Carlos presided over everything with amused detachment, while Elena orchestrated the meal like a general commanding troops. Lena helped in the kitchen, chopping vegetables, while Sophia interrogated her about Adrian's habits. Does he still refuse to eat vegetables? Sophia asked. He eats them if I cook them. You cook for him? Sometimes, when he actually comes home at a reasonable hour. Wow, he must really like you. Adrian doesn't let anyone cook for him. Sophia's eyes were sharp. You're different from what I expected. What did you expect? Someone harder, more glamorous, someone who looked like she belonged in his world. Sophia's smile was almost kind. But I like this better. You're real. He needs real. Everyone keeps saying that. Because it's true. Adrian spends so much time performing, being what everyone expects. But with you, he's just him. Sophia bumped Lena's shoulder. Don't hurt him, okay? He pretends he's invincible, but he's not. The words sat heavy in Lena's chest. Because she could hurt him. Was maybe already hurting him by keeping secrets about the detective's call. Dinner was loud and warm, and everything family dinners should be. Lena sat between Adrian and Maria's 4-year-old, who insisted on sharing his mashed potatoes with her. Adrian's hand was casual on her thigh. His smile was real. For a few hours, Lena let herself forget about detectives and investigations and futures that might not exist. She let herself just be here, in this moment, with these people who'd somehow become hers. After dinner, Carlos pulled Adrian aside. Man talk, Elena said with an eye roll. Lena found herself on the back patio with Sophia and Maria, watching the kids play in the yard. Can I ask you something? Maria said. And you can tell me to mind my business if you want. Okay. Do you love him? Lena's breath caught. That's pretty direct. I'm a direct person, and I want to know if my brother's falling for someone who's going to break his heart. I wouldn't. Lena stopped, tried again. It's complicated. Love usually is. We haven't known each other that long. So? My husband proposed after 3 weeks. Sometimes you just know. Maria's eyes were kind. I'm not trying to pressure you. I'm just trying to figure out if I should start wedding planning or damage control. Definitely no wedding planning. But you care about him. Lena looked through the window at Adrian. He was laughing at something his father said. His whole face transformed. Yeah, I care about him. Good enough for now. Maria stood. Come on, let's rescue Sophia's boyfriend before Uncle Vincent tells him about the time we all got food poisoning at Cousin Marco's wedding. The ride home was quiet. Adrian drove with one hand on the wheel, the other holding Lena's. He seemed distracted, tense. Your dad said something, Lena guessed. He's worried. There's some business trouble. Rivals making moves. He wants me to handle it. What kind of handling? Adrian was quiet for a long moment. The kind I don't want to talk about with you. Because it's illegal? Or because it's violent? Both. Lena looked at their joined hands. I knew what you were when I agreed to this. Knowing and seeing are different things. I've seen enough. The blood on your knuckles after Marco. The way people look at you. I'm not stupid, Adrian. I never thought you were. He pulled into the driveway but didn't kill the engine. But there's a difference between knowing I'm capable of violence and watching me actually be violent. I don't want you to see that side of me. Why not? Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I like the way you look at me now, like I'm just a man, not a monster. Lena's chest ached. You're not a monster. You don't know that. Yes, I do. She turned to face him fully. Monsters don't teach their nephews about dinosaurs. They don't hold their mother's hand during dinner. They don't look at me like I'm something precious. Her hand cupped his face. You do bad things. That doesn't make you bad. That's naive. Maybe, but I believe it anyway. Adrian kissed her, hard and desperate, like he was trying to prove something or apologize for something, or maybe both. When they broke apart, his forehead rested against hers. I have to go out of town tomorrow. Business. 3 days. Okay. You'll stay here. Security will be with you. Don't go anywhere alone. Adrian, please. Just while I'm gone. I need to know you're safe. The fear in his voice made her agree. Okay. I'll stay. Thank you. He kissed her again, softer this time. Come on. Let's go inside. That night, they made love like it might be the last time. Adrian was intense, focused, almost desperate, like he was trying to memorize her, every sound, every touch, every way she responded. Afterward, he held her close and didn't sleep. What aren't you telling me? Lena asked quietly. A lot of things. Things that would keep you up at night. Tell me anyway. Why? Because I want to know you, all of you, not just the parts you think I can handle. Adrian was silent for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, the business trouble isn't just rivals, it's federal investigation. They've been building a case against my family for 2 years. They're close to moving. My father wants me to clean house, make sure there's nothing they can use against us. How do you clean house? People who know too much disappear. Evidence gets destroyed. Witnesses change their stories or stop talking entirely. You're going to kill people. Probably, if they don't cooperate. Lena should have been horrified, should have pulled away, should have run. Instead, she held him tighter. Be careful. That's it? That's all you have to say? What do you want me to say? That I'm shocked? I'm not. That I'm going to leave? I'm not doing that either. She pulled back enough to look at his face. I knew what you were, Adrian. I chose this anyway. I don't get to be horrified now. You should be. Probably. But I'm more worried about you coming back safe than I am about the morality of what you're doing. What does that say about me? That you're in too deep. Yeah, I really am. He kissed her. Not desperate this time. Tender. Like she was something breakable he was trying to protect. They fell asleep tangled together. Lena's last thought was that she should tell him about the detective. Should warn him. Tomorrow, she told herself. She'd tell him tomorrow. But tomorrow came too fast. Adrian left before dawn, kissed her goodbye while she was still half asleep, promised to call, was gone before she could fully wake up. Lena spent the day restless. The house felt too big without him, too empty. Security stayed outside, silent, watching. She tried to read, tried to watch TV, tried to convince herself everything would be fine. Her phone rang at noon, unknown number. She knew who it was before she answered. Miss Brooks? Detective Reeves said. Have you thought about my offer? I told you. I know what you told me, but circumstances have changed. Adrian Varela left town this morning. We know where he's going. We know what he's planning to do. If you help us, we can stop him before he does something he can't come back from. I don't know anything. You live with him. You sleep in his bed. You're at family dinners where business gets discussed. Don't tell me you don't know anything. Lena's heart was racing. Even if I did, I wouldn't help you. Not even to save him? Because that's what this is about, Miss Brooks. If Adrian goes through with what he's planning, there's no coming back. He'll be looking at murder charges, life in prison. But if we can stop him before he acts, if we can get him to cooperate, There's a deal to be made. You want me to betray him to save him? That's insane. That's survival, and it's the only chance he has. The detective's voice went harder. You have 24 hours to decide. After that, we move with or without you, and anyone who gets caught in the crossfire is collateral damage, including you. The line went dead. Lena sat there shaking, her mind spinning. The detective was right about one thing. She was in too deep, and deep enough to drown. She could call Adrian, warn him, tell him everything. Or she could call the detective, try to make a deal, try to save him from himself. Or she could do nothing. Wait. Hope everything worked out. None of the options were good. Her phone rang again. This time it was Adrian's number. She answered. Hi. Hi. His voice was rough, tired. Everything okay there? Fine. Quiet. I miss you. Miss you too. Background noise. Voices. Listen, I can't talk long, but I wanted to hear your voice. When are you coming home? 2 days, maybe 3. Depends on how things go. Be safe. Always. A pause. Lena, if something happens, nothing's going to happen. But if it does, if I don't come back, there's money set aside for you, documents, everything you need to disappear if you have to. My lawyer has the details. Adrian, you're scaring me. I'm being realistic. This business, what I do, it's dangerous. I need to know you're protected. I don't want your money. I want you to come home. I will. I promise. More background noise. Someone calling his name. I have to go. I love you. The words hit her like a punch. He'd never said that before. Never even hinted at it. Adrian, I know. It's too soon. It's too fast. But I'm saying it anyway because I might not get another chance. His voice went soft. I love you, Lena, and I'm sorry for dragging you into this. I have to go. Lock the doors. Don't trust anyone. I'll call you tomorrow. He hung up before she could respond. Lena sat there holding her phone, tears streaming down her face. He loved her, and she loved him, and the police were closing in and she had to decide whose side she was on. That night, Lena didn't sleep. She paced Adrian's room, stared at her phone, tried to figure out the right answer. There wasn't one. By morning, she'd made her decision. She called the detective. Miss Brooks, I'm glad you called. I'll help you, Lena said, but on my terms. I want immunity, full immunity for me, and a deal for Adrian. Not life in prison, something he can survive. That depends on what you give us. I can give you enough to take down his rivals, the people he's targeting right now. But you leave his family alone, you leave him alone. That's not how this works. Then we don't have a deal. Lena's voice was steady, even though her hands shook. I'm not helping you destroy him, but I can help you stop what's about to happen. Take it or leave it. The detective was quiet. Then, I'll talk to my supervisor. Call you back in an hour. You have 30 minutes. Lena hung up, stared at her phone, tried not to throw up. She'd just made a deal with the devil, or maybe she'd made a deal with the angels to save the devil. Either way, there was no going back. 20 minutes later, her phone rang. We have a deal, Detective Reeves said, but you need to meet with us. Today. Give us everything you know, and Miss Brooks, if you're lying to us, the deal's off and you go down with him. I understand. There's a coffee shop on 5th and Main. Be there in 2 hours. Come alone. The line went dead. Lena stood in Adrian's room, surrounded by his things, his scent, his presence. She was about to betray him to save him. He'd never forgive her, but he'd be alive, free, safe. That had to be enough. She grabbed her purse and headed for the door. The security outside would follow. She'd have to lose them. She made it to the garage, got in Adrian's car. He'd left her the keys, told the security she needed groceries. They followed in another car. She drove to the store, went inside, went out the back delivery entrance, caught a cab, lost them. By the time she walked into the coffee shop on 5th and Main, she was shaking so hard she could barely stand. Detective Reeves was waiting in a back booth, professional, cold, everything Adrian wasn't. Lena sat down. Tell me everything, the detective said, and Lena started talking. Lena told the detective everything, almost everything. She told her about the rival families, the names Adrian had mentioned in passing, the places he'd said he was going. She gave them enough to stop whatever violence was about to happen. But she didn't tell them about the family, about Carlos or Elena or the kids who played dinosaurs. She didn't mention the private accounts or the legitimate businesses that funded the rest. She protected what mattered. When she finished, Detective Reeves studied her with something that might have been respect. "That's good information," the detective said. We can work with this." "And the deal?" "Immunity for you. Reduced charges for Adrian if he cooperates." "That's the best I can do." "What kind of reduced charges?" "Depends on what we find. But if everything you told me checks out, and if he's willing to testify against the rivals, we can probably keep him out of prison. Probation, community service. He walks away clean enough. He'll never testify. Then he goes to prison. That's his choice." The detective leaned forward. "You did the right thing, Miss Brooks. I know it doesn't feel like it, but you probably saved his life." Lena wasn't sure about that. Wasn't sure about anything anymore. She left the coffee shop feeling hollowed out, like she'd carved away pieces of herself and left them on that table. The cab ride back to the mansion was a blur. She paid the driver with shaking hands, walked through the front door expecting security to tackle her for disappearing. Instead, Maria was sitting in the living room. "Where the hell have you been?" Maria stood, face tight with worry. "Security called me an hour ago freaking out because you vanished. Adrian's going to lose his mind when he finds out." "I needed air. I went for a walk." "A walk? You ditched trained security for a walk?" Maria's eyes were sharp, too sharp. "What's really going on?" "Nothing. I just needed space." "Lena." Maria's voice went soft, dangerous. "I'm not stupid. You're pale. You're shaking. Something happened. Tell me." "I can't. Can't or won't. Both." Maria studied her for a long moment, then sighed. "Fine. But when Adrian calls, and he will call, you better have a better story than 'I went for a walk,' because he'll see through it in about 2 seconds. Maria left. Lena climbed the stairs to Adrian's room and locked the door. Her phone rang 10 minutes later. Adrian. She let it ring. Couldn't face his voice, couldn't lie to him directly. He called 3 more times, then texted, "Answer your phone." Then, "Security said you disappeared. Are you okay?" Then, "Lena, I swear if something happened to you." Finally, "Please, just tell me you're safe." She texted back, "I'm fine, needed space. I'm sorry." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. "We'll talk when I get home." That was it. No anger, no demands, just a promise that scared her more than yelling would have. Lena spent the rest of the day in a fog. She tried to read, tried to eat, ended up staring at the wall and wondering what she'd done. She'd betrayed him. No matter how she tried to frame it, that's what it was. She'd gone to the police, made a deal, given them information, even if it was to save him, even if her intentions were good. He'd never see it that way. Night came. Adrian didn't call again. Lena lay in his bed surrounded by his scent and tried not to cry. She failed. The next morning brought news. It was all over the television. Federal raid on a warehouse outside the city. Multiple arrests, suspected organized crime operation shut down. Lena's stomach turned as she watched the coverage. She recognized one of the names, someone Adrian had mentioned, someone he'd been going to meet. Her information had worked. The police had moved, had stopped whatever violence was brewing. But at what cost? Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered already knowing. "We got them," Detective Reeves said. "Your information was good. We made 7 arrests, prevented what would have been a bloodbath." "And Adrian?" "Wasn't there. Looks like he never made it to the meeting. Either he got tipped off or he's smarter than we gave him credit for." A pause. "We still want to talk to him. The deal still stands if he cooperates." "He won't." "Maybe you can convince him." "He'll never forgive me for this." "Maybe not, but he'll be alive to be angry." The detective's voice softened slightly. "You did the right thing, Miss Brooks. Remember that when it gets hard." The line went dead. Lena sat on the couch and waited. For Adrian to call. For security to drag her away. For something. The front door opened at noon. Adrian walked in looking like he'd aged 5 years in 3 days. His suit was wrinkled. His face was shadowed. but his eyes went straight to her with an intensity that made her stop breathing. "You're home early," she said. "Meeting got canceled. Raided, actually." He set his bag down slowly, deliberately. "Funny thing. I was on my way there when I got a call. Anonymous tip. Saying federal agents were waiting, so I turned around, came home." Lena's throat was tight. "That's lucky." "Is it?" He walked closer, stopped a few feet away. 7 men arrested. People I was supposed to meet with. People who knew things that could hurt my family. All gone in one raid. "Adrian, the timing's interesting, don't you think? I leave town. You disappear from security. Give them the slip for 3 hours, and then suddenly the feds know exactly where to be and when. I can explain." "Can you?" His voice was quiet, dangerous. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like my girlfriend, the woman I trusted, the woman I told I loved, went to the police and gave them everything they needed to destroy my family." "That's not what happened." "Then what did happen, Lena? And don't lie to me, I deserve the truth." She could lie, could deny everything, could try to salvage this. But she was so tired of lying. "I met with a detective," she said quietly. "She called me. Told me you were planning something that would get you killed or arrested. Offered me a deal. Immunity for me. Reduced charges for you if you cooperate." Adrian's face went cold. "And you took it." "I took it because I was trying to save you." "Save me? You betrayed me. You went behind my back to the fucking police." His voice was rising now, getting louder. "Do you have any idea what you've done? Those men you helped arrest? They have families, lawyers. They'll talk to save themselves, and what they know could bring down everyone I care about. I didn't give them anything about your family. Just the rivals. Just the people you were going to hurt. You think that makes it better?" He laughed, harsh and bitter. "You think the feds will stop there? They'll use those arrests to pressure people, to make deals, to climb the ladder until they get to my father, to me. The detective said, the detective lied to you. They all lie. That's what they do. They promise immunity and deals and protection, and then they fuck you over the second you're not useful anymore." Adrian ran his hands through his hair. "How could you be so stupid?" The word hit like a slap. "I was trying to help you," Lena said. "You told me you loved me. Told me you might not come back. I couldn't just sit here and do nothing while you got yourself killed. So you decided to destroy me instead. I was trying to save you." "I didn't ask you to save me. I asked you to trust me, to stay out of it." He was in her space now, close enough that she could see the fury in his eyes, the betrayal. "I told you things I've never told anyone. I let you into my life, into my family, and you repaid that by going to my enemies. They're not your enemies, they're the law. In my world, they're the same thing." He stepped back, put distance between them like he couldn't stand to be close to her. "I want you out." The words hit harder than anything else. "What?" "Out of my house. Out of my life. We're done." "Adrian, please." "No, there's no coming back from this. You made your choice. You chose them over me. So now you get to live with that." His eyes were ice, empty. "I'll have your things packed. You'll get the rest of the money we agreed on. Consider the contract fulfilled, but I never want to see you again." "You don't mean that." "I've never meant anything more in my life." He pulled out his phone, made a call, spoke in clipped Spanish, hung up. "A car will be here in 20 minutes. I suggest you use that time to gather whatever you can't live without. Everything else will be sent to wherever you're staying. I don't have anywhere to go. That's not my problem anymore." He walked past her toward the stairs. Stopped. Didn't turn around. "For what it's worth, I really did love you. That wasn't a lie. But love doesn't mean shit when there's no trust." He went upstairs. Left her standing there. Lena stood frozen. She'd known he'd be angry, had expected yelling, had prepared for his rage. But this cold dismissal was worse. This felt final. She grabbed her purse, her phone, the few things scattered around the living room that were hers. The car arrived. Same driver as always. He wouldn't meet her eyes. She got in, gave him her old address, the apartment she'd left weeks ago. The drive felt longer than it should have. Every mile was distance from Adrian, from the life she'd briefly had, from the man she'd fallen for and destroyed in the same breath. Her old building looked smaller than she remembered, shabbier. The apartment was exactly as she'd left it, managed to keep the lease even though she hadn't lived there. It felt like a museum of her old life. She sat on her bed and finally let herself cry. Really cry. The kind of crying that came from the chest and made it hard to breathe. She'd lost him. She'd been trying to save him, and she'd lost him anyway. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "The deal still stands. Call me when you're ready to move forward. Detective Reeves." Lena threw her phone across the room. She didn't leave the apartment for 2 days, ignored calls from Maria, from Sophia, from Elena, who somehow had her number. On the third day, someone knocked on her door. She almost didn't answer. But the knocking was persistent. Elena stood in the hallway, perfectly dressed, perfectly composed, perfectly terrifying. "We need to talk," Elena said. I don't care what Adrian wants right now. I care about what happened, and I'm not leaving until you tell me." Lena let her in because refusing Adrian's mother felt impossible. Elena looked around the tiny apartment with something like sadness. "So this is where you lived before?" "Yeah. It's small. It's what I could afford." Elena sat on the worn couch without hesitation, gestured for Lena to sit. "Tell me what happened. The real story. Not whatever version my son is telling himself." So Lena told her. Everything. The detective's calls, the threats, the fear, the impossible choice between watching Adrian destroy himself or trying to stop him. When she finished, Elena was quiet for a long time. "You went to the police," Elena said finally. "To save him." "Yes." "And now he hates you for it." "Yes." "My son is an idiot," Elena said it calmly, matter of fact. "He's always been an idiot about pride. Gets it from his father. He has a right to be angry. I betrayed his trust." "Did you? Or did you make an impossible choice in an impossible situation?" Elena leaned forward. "Lena, listen to me. I've been in this life for 30 years. I've watched men I love make choices that destroyed them. I've buried friends. I've lied to police. I've cleaned up blood. And I've learned that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is break the rules to save someone." He doesn't see it that way. No, he doesn't. Because he's terrified. Elena's eyes were sharp. "You scared him. You showed him that you're willing to go against him if you think it's right. That you're not just going to follow blindly. And that's terrifying to a man who's used to control." "I didn't mean to scare him. I meant to save him." "I know. And deep down, he knows too. He's just too stubborn and too hurt to admit it." Elena stood. "Give him time. Let him process. He'll come around. And if he doesn't, then he's a bigger fool than I raised him to be." Elena moved to the door, paused. "For what it's worth, I'm glad you did what you did. Those men he was going to meet, they would have killed him, made it look like rival violence. The feds didn't just stop a raid, they saved my son's life." "How do you know that?" "Because I know this world. I know how these things work." Elena's smile was sad. "You saved him, Lena, whether he admits it or not. And I won't forget that." She left Lena sitting in her apartment with a tiny seed of hope. A week passed, then 2. Lena went back to work at Rosie's. Mickey welcomed her back without questions. The routine was familiar, comforting, normal, but normal felt hollow now, like wearing clothes that didn't fit anymore. She saw the news, saw the trials starting, the plea deals, the dominoes falling exactly like Adrian predicted. But his name never came up. Neither did his father's. The investigation seemed to stop at the people she'd helped arrest. Maybe the detective had kept her word. Maybe the deal had actually worked. Lena tried not to think about it. Tried not to think about Adrian. Failed constantly. 3 weeks after she left, Sophia showed up at the diner at closing time. "You look like hell," Sophia said, sliding onto a stool. "Thanks. You look great too." "I'm serious. You've lost weight, you have dark circles, and you're hiding in this diner like it's a bomb shelter." Sophia's eyes were sympathetic. "He's not doing any better, by the way." Lena's hand stilled on the counter. "I don't want to know." "Too bad. You're going to hear it anyway." Sophia leaned forward. "He's miserable, barely sleeps, barely eats, snaps at everyone. Maria's kids are scared of him. Mom's ready to smack him. And Dad keeps asking when you're coming to dinner." "I'm not coming to dinner. Adrian made it clear he doesn't want to see me." "Adrian's an idiot. We've established this." Sophia drummed her fingers on the counter. Look, I'm not here to convince you to come crawling back. You don't deserve that. But I am here to tell you that whatever you did, whatever he thinks you did, he's punishing himself more than you. Good. Is it? Because from where I'm sitting, you both are miserable. You both love each other, and you're both too stubborn to fix it. Sophia stood. Family dinner is Sunday, 5 p.m. Mom's house. Show up or don't. But know that we want you there, even if my idiot brother can't admit it. She left before Lena could respond. Sunday came. Lena told herself she wasn't going. Told herself a dozen times throughout the day. But at 4:30, she was in her car driving to Elena's house. She almost turned around 3 times. Didn't. The house was full when she arrived. Cars in the driveway, noise spilling from windows. The same warm chaos she remembered. She sat in her car for 10 minutes, gripping the steering wheel. Then Elena appeared on the porch, waved her inside like there was no question she'd come. Lena got out of the car, walked to the door on shaking legs. I'm glad you came, Elena said, hugging her tight. He's in the living room. Fair warning, he doesn't know you're here. Maybe I should leave. Nonsense, come. Elena pulled her inside, through the foyer, toward the noise. The living room went quiet when Lena walked in. Everyone stared. Maria's face lit up. Sophia smirked. Carlos looked amused. And Adrian froze. He was on the couch with his nephew. He looked exactly like Sophia said. Thinner, tired, like he hadn't slept properly in weeks. Their eyes met. The room held its breath. Lena's joining us for dinner, Elena announced like it was already decided. Everyone say hello and then give them some space. There was a chorus of greetings, then people scattered, strategic, deliberate, leaving Lena and Adrian alone. You came, he said finally. Your sister's very persuasive. Which one? Both of them, actually. Silence stretched between them. Heavy, loaded. I'm sorry, Lena said quietly. I'm sorry I went behind your back. I'm sorry I didn't trust you to handle it. I'm sorry I hurt you. But you're not sorry you did it. No, I'm not. Because you're alive, you're here, you're free, and those men who wanted you dead are in prison. She met his eyes. I'd do it again. Exactly the same way. Because losing you to your pride is better than losing you to a bullet. Adrian stared at her. You're infuriating. I know. You went to the police. Do you have any idea how insane that is? Yes. You could have gotten yourself killed, could have gotten my family hurt. But I didn't. I was careful. I protected what mattered. You should have told me. You would have stopped me. Of course I would have stopped you. His voice rose. Because it was dangerous and stupid, and it worked. Lena stepped closer. It worked, Adrian. You're safe. Your family's safe. The investigation stopped where I wanted it to stop. The detective kept her word. This time. What about next time? There won't be a next time, because I'm not going anywhere near police or deals or any of it ever again. She was right in front of him now, close enough to touch. I did it once, to save you. And I'd do it again if I had to. But I really, really hope I never have to. Adrian's hand came up, cupped her face. His thumb traced her cheekbone. I was so angry at you. I know. I'm still angry. I know. But I've been more miserable without you than I've ever been in my life. His forehead dropped to hers. I don't know how to do this. How to be with someone who'll defy me to protect me. You learn. We both learn. Her hands gripped his shirt. I'm not going to be the woman who just agrees with everything, who follows blindly. If you want that, I'm the wrong person. I don't want that. I never wanted that. He pulled back enough to look at her. I want you. Exactly as you are. Even when you're infuriating. Even when I go to the police? Let's not make that a regular thing. Deal. He kissed her, soft and careful like he was afraid she'd disappear, like he was making sure she was real. When they broke apart, the doorway was full of his family, watching, grinning. Finally, Maria said, if you two took any longer, I was going to lock you in a room. Dinner's ready, Elena called. Everyone sit. Lena, you're next to Adrian, where you belong. Dinner was chaos and warmth and everything Lena had missed. Adrian's hand stayed on her thigh the entire meal. His eyes kept finding hers, like he needed to keep checking she was really there. After dinner, they ended up on the back patio, just the two of them, winter air cold enough to see their breath. I meant what I said, Adrian told her. In that car 3 weeks ago. I love you. I love you too. I should have said it then. I should have said it 100 times. You can say it now. I love you. She turned to face him fully. I love you, and I'm terrified of what that means. I'm terrified of your world and the danger and the impossible choices. But I love you anyway. I'm terrified too, he admitted. I'm terrified you'll realize what being with me costs, and you'll leave. I'm terrified something will happen, and I won't be able to protect you. I'm terrified of needing you this much. So what do? We figure it out together. We make mistakes and fix them. We fight and make up. We build something real out of all this mess. His hands cupped her face. No more contracts, no more arrangements, no more expiration dates, just us. Real and complicated, and probably a disaster half the time. That sounds perfect. Yeah? Yeah. He kissed her under the winter stars, and Lena let herself believe in futures and forevers and love that started with lies but became truth. 6 months later, Lena moved back into the mansion, not into a guest room, into Adrian's room, into his life. Permanently. A year after that, they got married. Small ceremony, just family. Elena cried. Carlos gave a toast about love being worth the risk. Maria's kids were ring bearers and stole the show, and Lena wore a ring that symbolized something that started as an arrangement and became everything. The police investigation ended. The detective moved on to other cases. The rivals went to prison or disappeared into witness protection. Adrian's family stayed safe, stayed together. Adrian slowly pulled back from the darker parts of the business. Not completely, not overnight, but piece by piece he found ways to do less violence, make better choices, build something legitimate. It wasn't perfect. There were still fights, still moments of fear, still nights where Lena woke up terrified something would take him from her. But there were more moments of peace, of laughter, of Adrian teaching their nephew about dinosaurs, of family dinners that felt like home, and there were quiet moments. Just the two of them, where Adrian would pull her close and whisper that she saved him, not just from the raid or the violence or the police, from himself, from a life that was all duty and no joy, from forgetting what it meant to be human. Lena would remind him that he saved her too, from a life that was all survival and no living, from thinking she had to be alone to be safe, from settling for less than she deserved. They saved each other, imperfectly, messily, with mistakes and second chances and love that refused to give up. Because that's what love is. Not the fairy tale, not the perfect story, but the choice to stay, to fight, to believe that broken things can be made whole if you're willing to do the work. And they were willing, every single day. Years later, when people asked how they met, Lena would smile and say it was complicated. Because it was. Because some stories don't fit into neat boxes or simple explanations. Some stories are messy and dangerous and start with lies. Some stories involve crime bosses and waitresses and deals that should have been disasters. But the best stories, the ones worth telling, are the ones where people choose each other anyway. Where love happens not despite the complications, but because of them. Where a one-night arrangement becomes forever. Where fake becomes so real it hurts. Where a woman learns that strength isn't doing everything alone, and a man learns that control isn't the same as safety. Where two broken people build something beautiful out of all the jagged pieces. That was their story. Imperfect, complicated, real. And it was theirs. Completely.